Right, welcome back. As I say, we're delighted that our next speaker is with us today, as it indicates the key strategic role that STBs have in delivering many of the national imperatives. So therefore, without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage the Minister of State for Transport, Andrew Stephenson, who's also MP for Pendle. Andrew joined the DfT in 2020, having been a Minister in the Foreign Office Department of International Development and the Department of Business, Energy, Industrial Strategy. But at DfT, he's responsible for an awful lot more.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to join you. I was conscious that the Chancellor's statement was going on a bit longer than expected, and we had urgent questions and other things in the chamber, but I managed to make it here. So a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to see so many of you here at the first ever Subnational Transport Bodies Conference. And it's great to be back in the West Midlands. It's great to be speaking again in this venue. The West Midlands, of course, great transport history, a great transport hub, serving passengers for over 200 years now. And let me start by thanking the organisers for inviting me. It's great to be back in person doing events like this again. Throughout the best part of the last 2 centuries, few challenges have been as daunting or as disruptive as those that we've experienced during the last 2 years. And I'm grateful to every single person in the room today for all the work that you've done and all the work that you continue to do to keep this country moving. And we are moving, we are accelerating, and we are levelling up and devolving power and funding like never before. We are building on the momentum achieved through COP26, through our world-leading transport decarbonisation plan that will deliver a greener and more sustainable country. And we're building a better, fairer economy, not shrinking away from the big decisions, but driving forward massive infrastructure projects like HS2, which, of course, is the biggest infrastructure project in the whole of Europe. Through all of this, through all of the challenges that we have faced, it has been abundantly clear that local and regional partners, north, south, east and west, are crucial to delivering our transport priorities. But as we level up the economy, drive down carbon and revive our transport sector, there's only so much that central government can do alone. Gone are the days of Whitehall officials deciding what each region of England needs. And that's at the heart of why subnational transport bodies were created in the first place, bringing together local authorities to speak with one voice, to assess the region's needs and to develop a single, cohesive strategy that the government can then use to inform investment decisions. You speak to stakeholders, you know the data, and crucially, you use our transport networks and know what needs to be done. With so much going on, events like these are a brilliant way of putting our heads together. We've all got our part to play in meeting the challenges and opportunities of today and tomorrow. And getting this right really matters. That's why we're setting aside billions of pounds in funding, from the sustainable transport settlements and levelling up funds, to active travel priorities, through to creating Great British Railways, all of which will depend on local expertise and local delivery. Because increased connectivity means more jobs, more investment, and more opportunity right across the country. And speaking of increased investment, as the Minister responsible for the Integrated Rail Plan, it would be remiss of me not to mention the impact that this is going to have on the whole country, and especially in places like the Midlands, where we are gathered today. Change is coming. The Integrated Rail Plan, published last November, is the single biggest ever government investment in Britain's rail network. A £96 billion project for the Midlands and the North to be delivered over the next 30 years. This includes 3 new sections of high-speed line in the Midlands and the North, upgrades and electrification of 3 main lines, and further improvements to local services in the 2 regions. It will bring communities in the Midlands and the North closer together, boost intercity connectivity, and improve east-west links, the journeys that most people are likely to make. And the IRP also seeks to deliver better journeys more quickly for the North East and for Leeds by upgrading the East Coast Main Line. The IRP also commits us to delivering the Midlands Rail Hub between Birmingham and South Wales and the west of England, which will improve connectivity on that route as well as improving local services within the West Midlands. It's an investment of around £1 billion which will support growth and levelling up. And we are continuing to look at how to improve connections to the East Midlands in addition to those that were proposed as part of the IRP. And our investment in rail spans the whole country because levelling up the Midlands and the North will never mean levelling down any other region. Indeed, we're investing from Gatwick Airport Station, where we're doubling the space for passengers, to Dawlish and Teignmouth. We are investing to make the line more resilient. We're opening railways fit for royalty with the Elizabeth line in London, and we're helping communities by restoring tracks like the Dartmoor line in Devon. And we're progressing plans for East West Rail that will benefit the surrounding regions, connecting people with work, training, and each other. These investments span the length and breadth of this country, and we're also ensuring that Great British Railways does too. GBR will establish regional headquarters responsible and accountable for the railways in local areas, ensuring decisions about the railways are brought closer to passengers and the communities that they serve. And we'll soon discover where the GBR headquarters will be, something that I know many people in the room are very interested to hear. We are building back better for the whole country, not just on rail, but for the entire transport system. Our priorities as a department are to grow and level up the economy, to improve transport for everyone, to reduce transport's environmental impacts, to increase our global impact, and to continue to be an excellent department. In practice, that means improving connectivity across the UK and growing the economy by enhancing our transport network. It means delivering projects on time and on budget and putting the needs and expectations of passengers at the heart of transport. It means building the greener, more sustainable alternatives because we know right now our sector is the biggest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And it means cleaning up our vehicles and supporting the switch to an electric future. And I'm absolutely clear that government will only deliver on these priorities by working shoulder to shoulder with important partners like the subnational transport bodies. That's why we're giving the newer STBs more funding to help them grow. It's why we're asking STBs to take on work across more policy areas. So instead of suggesting investment for one isolated programme, STBs can come together and articulate a strategy for investing across entire modes. So when government wants to decarbonise the transport system, or improve passenger experiences, or use transport investment to grow and level up the economy, I know that subnational transport bodies will be there with a strategy, with the evidence base, and with the local consensus to help us do just that. So thank you again for all that you're doing. It's a real pleasure to be able to join you today. Let's continue working together. Thank you very much.
I know that you're now shooting off to go and have a meeting with the 7 STBs. So very, very quickly, just before you rush off, a quick question based upon what we heard this morning. You've got the IRP, you've got the levelling up agenda, you've got the net zero strategy, and of course on the back of that you've got the cost of living crisis. We heard this morning that it's about turning this urgency into action. And I suppose as you build back better, I think I've got all those phrases in there in a single sentence. As you build back better, I mean, how does the DFT avoid the phrase that we heard earlier, which was the death march of business as usual?
I think that's a great question. And, you know, across all modes, we are going through a period of unprecedented change. So it can't be business as usual for any mode. Things that I didn't mention in my speech would include UK Shore, investing in decarbonising the maritime sector, or the Secretary of State's recent announcement of going for the first zero emissions flight between the UK and the US. There are a huge range of initiatives in all different modes now trying to push the boundaries of technology, of innovation, and rethinking some things that haven't been rethought for a long time. So certainly, business as usual is not acceptable. We've all got to work together to come up with innovative solutions to deal with the challenges that we face.
And working in partnership starts with these SDBs.
It does indeed.
I wish you well with the meeting you're going to have now. So thank you very much for joining us. Minister.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Andrew Richardson.